For more updates, click on subscribe and click on bell button for latest notifications.
Let's see, after installing the nagios core, what is the post installation task we are going to do here. So if you say here adding the host and services, like adding the host and services directly without post configuration. So if you add the without post configuration with the default values, later on you will have a lot of things to change here and there, so which consumes a lot of time you to changing the settings. And again, if you broke anything if in the middle of the configuration, so it's very headache that you can go back and reinstall the server and all of the doing the stuff. So that has tedious jobs to the not just configurations. To avoid that, what you can do, so what you can do is that create below configuration first, then continue with the templating. So what you can do is that first create all of the required configuration in place, then use those configurations and make one a standard template and freeze it, so that whenever you wanted to add any new host and services, you can use this template. Then you can just simply you can just go ahead with that template. So first of all, what you have to do, so create the contacts and the contact group, required contacts in the contact group. Of course, later on also you can extend these contacts and contacts groups, but basically starts with the default contacts and contacts groups which are required mandatory. Example say that the notification should goes to the some of the group who is sit on the NOC team. So there is a network operation center, so who is receiving the alerts and looking at those alerts. So this is a mandatory contact, so you just create those contacts and contacts groups and create the host template. So instead of adding the all the options every time while you create the host, you just make a one host template and use that template name in the while creating the host, so that it applies the all the options which are available on this template. And create the service template. It's also similar that when you are creating the deploying the service on the monitoring, then no need to add all of these default options on the service. So you just define one service template and call that template name on the service, so that it would be applied all the options. So create the required commands by adding the plugin. So while you, if you want to add a new service checks, example the new service checks on the example SSL status check or active directory status checks, or later on if you wanted to expand it in more like the Kubernetes monitoring, Docker monitoring, or other container technologies monitoring, or other DevOps tools monitoring, or the service status monitoring, then you can download those plugins and create the commands later on. But by default we required some of the commands to go with, then you have to create those mandatory commands. Create and define the time periods. If you have a rotational shifts to notifications, you can just create the multiple time periods based on your shift or how you are working method on the notification methods on your organization. Then create required directories under the /usr local nagios and add to nagios.cfg, so that whenever you create the directory, add those directory configuration directory file path, the directory path to the nagios.cfg, so that you don't need to specifically create the cfg file and go back to the nagios.cfg and add it, right? So that is tedious job whenever you want to remove any configuration file, modify any configuration file. Instead we create the directories and drop those CSV files under those directories, so it will automatically fetch from those directories. And create service groups, so required service groups, and install the configured PNP nagios for graphs. So in this course we are using PNP for nagios. If you want to use nagios graphs, also you can use it. So whatever the tool you would like to see for a graphing service, you can use that. Install and configure the nagios and the NDO utilities for the visualization dashboard creations. So because if you deploy the nagios and everything, after that you wanted to configure nagios and NDO utilities, then later point of time, if any configurations messed up, So it would be tedious job to troubleshoot the issue. So that's why before you adding any host or the services to the monitoring, you set up everything, graphing services, nagios and utilities, this everything you just set up, then add the host so that you don't need to modify again those services back. So let's see here how you can define the host definition, the host template here. So what first line I'm just going to say that define host, similar like while I'm deploying defining the host. So here the default template, the location is /usr local nagios etc objects and templates.cfg for RGL and CentOS, and for the Ubuntu different location will be there, but here particularly we are talking about the CentOS. Nagios core is installed on the CentOS, so that's why this is the default location. So for this template I'm going to name it as Linux dash tech arkit. So the template name is host template name is Linux dash tech arkit, and check period, it should check 24/7, so there is no exclusions to check. By default I am adding it, but if you have any restrictions on the service host, like example the host will be up from 12 to 12 and later point of time it is going to down, something like that, then in that case you just add this 12 hours check period. So interval time, so what is the pulling time of the service status or the host status? It is every 5 minutes. And retrieve interval, in case the first attempt is not successful, then what is the retrieve interval? So every retrieve interval is 1 minute. So maximum attempts, how many times it should uh, check before sending an alert saying that how many times it should verify the host saying that the host is up and down, up or down. So the maximum attempts I put it here, it is 10 times, means first time it will go and verify the host every 5 minutes, and every 1 minute until 10 times it's going to verify saying that the host is down or up, then after that it will confirm that the host is down. Check command, so what is the command it should check? Host dash check dash host dash alive is the command to verify the. So the check command should be available on the commands.cfg file, otherwise it give the error. So notification interval, when it should send the notification, first notification should be sent immediately, but after that what is the interval it should send? So by the I have added 120 minutes here, so you can configure the interval based on the requirements. Notification options, so what are the notification options and when should send the alert? Example say that D for down, when the host is down it should send the alert, and when there is a host is unknown, then it should send the alert. Then when host is recovered, then it should send the alert. So there are so many other options as well, and we can see on the contact definitions and contact group. Then by default who should receive this alert? So this is a Linux template, so that Linux group should receive the alert. So this group name should be available on the contacts list, otherwise it will not send the alert. So icon image, so whenever you use this template name, so what is the icon it should use? So by default the logos are available in /usr local nagios share images logos is the location. So there are number of images available, so based on the Linux, if it is a Linux you can use Linux template, or if it is a Windows you can use the Windows image. If it is a network device you can use the network devices names. So based on that image you can whatever you can use it. And status map, example when you define any status map, so what is the icon it should visible. And action URL, so this is an action URL which shows whenever the host is added. By default it will add this graph URL to the each host. So we are installing the PNP nagios here, so that's why the action URL is defined on the template. So if there is no PNP for nagios is installed, so you can remove this action URL from here. Notification is enabled, yes, of course it should send the notifications. And event handler is enabled, yes, it should handle the events on the host, and flap detection is enabled. So it is up to you if you want to detect the flapping. Example, that service is going up down up down up down in a few minutes, then it says that okay, the service is not stable, it is flapping. Performance data, so of course it should uh, performance data should be stored on the database. If you say 0, then there is no perf data will be shown on the graphs. Retain status information, yes, it should retain the information, and non-status information also it should retain. And notification period, so as of now I did not define any notification period or the shift rotation or anything, so that's why I just simply say that it should send the notifications 24/7, so that there is no defined time period for the same. So registering the templates, so I'm not going to register the template since it is not registered. So this is the host definition. Here I'm going to define the host template. So there are a number of other options as well, but these are the required options as of now. You can define it. If you want to later, you can just come back again, modify the template if you want the options to be added or the removed. Okay, so let's see that there are the available logos on this nagios by default. So these are the logos, so based on your requirement you can use those logo names. You can just make those names from here to there, then that would be visible on the when you add the host on the configuration. So let's define the template here. So I'm switching back to the /usr local nagios and ect objects folder, and here you can see that there are configuration files. In this we required actually templates.cfg. So before that I'm just going to install the vim package, creating the configuration files. So it will give some coloring text, and now again do ls and open with the vim templates.cfg file here. Now you can go all the way down and define the template here. So I'm going to define the template called define host here. So in this, whatever the options I just said, these are the options I defined here. You can see that the name of the template is linux dash tech arkit check period 24/7, interval 5 minutes, retry interval 1 minute, and maximum attempts 10 times. And you can see that images and action URLs, event handler, notification enabled, flapping detection enabled, all of this as said in the just templates as explained in that PPT. So the same options I have defined here. So I'm just commenting here saying that linux host template tech arkit, so that we can know that this template is defined by us. In similar way, so I will define few more templates. That few more templates is that one is for Windows and another is for a service. So you can define n number of templates as customized you want. So but I just wanted to use these three. One is for Linux, one is for Windows, another is for a service. Let's come down all the way to down on the template here, and I'm going to copy paste a similar text here, but instead of Linux tech arkit, I just specified this is as a Windows dash tech arkit, and the similar option. So there is no much change, but the only contact group is changed and the images names are changed. You can see that icon images are changed, Windows 40.png and Windows 40.png as a status image as well. So URL action is also similar, and you can see that there is a group name is changed. So by default, whenever you use this template, it should by default send the email alert to those groups whatever you define there. So here also I'm just specifying the admin. So I do not have the multiple groups defined. So that's why I'm using the admins group for all the notifications. So here I'm just commenting that host Windows template and take Arkit. Again, come little down here and specify the service template. So in service template, almost the options are same, but there are only few 3 or 4 options are different, saying that this is the, you can see that parallelized checks equal to 1 and obsess over service is 1 and is a volatile uh, service is 0. You can see that. So those are the options, only maximum difference, but you can see that here instead of host I defined the service. So these are all the service options I have defined. So let's verify all the options are correct here. So let's see that I missed out here admins. Okay, so nagios admins or admins, maybe you can define and save it and see that verify the nagios. So is there any mismatch, or is there any spelling mistakes, if at all configuration errors? If there is no errors, then restart the nagios. That's it. Let's understand the contacts and contacts group. So what are the options we have while defining the contacts and the contacts groups? Let's see that. So if you define the host notifications, in this you have the down notification, unreachable notification, recovery, flapping, schedule host downtime. So which means that whenever the host is down or unreachable, recovery, flapping, and schedule host downtime. So when you are defining the contacts, so these are the options you can specify. So which state you want to receive the alerts. Example, say that the host is down, then you should receive the alert, or the host is flapping, then you should receive the alert. So that whatever the options you specified in that particular contact, then only that state will be sent this alerts. So service notifications, so you have the warning state, unknown state, critical state, recovery state, flapping state, and scheduled service downtime. So scheduled host downtime and scheduled service downtime is that whenever you schedule any downtime on the nagios console, so that it will send you the notification there. So say that so and so host is having the downtime from so and so time to so and so time. So that's the options you have from the host notifications and the service notifications options. So let's dive into the template. So how we can define the contact template here. So by default location is /usr local nagios /etc objects templates. So in this we are going to define the contact template. So define the contacts, the contact name. So the template name I am calling it as contact dash tech Arkit, and service notification period enabled 24/7. So this is the time period where I pick this time period value, and host notification also I pick 24/7. And host notification options, you can see that I pick only downtime, down and recovery. So I don't want other alerts like unreachable, recovery, or unreachable, or flapping, or schedule or downtime. I don't want to receive those options. So I just wanted to receive only down and recovery. That's it. And service notification, so I don't want to receive all of this flapping, schedule downtimes, everything. So I just wanted to receive whether it is warning, critical, and recovery. So that is my contact preference. You can choose any preferences what you want. So you want only critical and recovery, so that you can also, maybe you want only critical, you don't want to see any recovery option, something like that. So you can specify based on your options. And service notification command, this command is specified in the commands.cfg, and that have the notification settings, that what is the email template it should send while sending the email. And notifications enabled, yes, and service notifications enabled, yes, and can submit the commands, yes. So if you want to acknowledge, or if you want to do anything, so they can submit the comments. and retain the status information, and there is no register equal to 1 because the templates we are not going to reset freeze, so that's why we don't want to register the templates. So these are the contact definition. So you can go to the templates and define the contact first, then call this template name on the contact while defining the contact. Now let's define some contacts and contacts group here. So I'm going to edit the contacts file /usr local nagios etc objects and contacts.csv, which is the default configuration file, and come back a little down here, and you can define the contact anywhere in this file. I say that new contact definition. So now define contact and open bracket and say contact name. So this contact name you have to call anywhere you wanted to send the notification. Okay, so my contact name I'm specifying here is that Ravi, and the use. So I'm going to use the template which is generic dash contacts. You can also use our latest contacts which we have defined called contact dash tech arkit. So either of the one you can use it. So okay, alias I'm just specifying my full name here and say my email address. So now close this contact. So one contact is defined. So now come little bit down and specify one more contact group here. So say commenting that new contact group. So now I'm defining the define contact group. So make sure that there is no spelling mistake, otherwise you will get a lot of errors. Okay, so define contact groups and contact group name. So I call this as Linux admins, and alias, so you can define the full name here, say that maybe Linux administrators, and members, who are the members of this group. So I'm specifying the member as nagios admin and comma separated value and Ravi. So both are Linux administrators in this contact group. So I'm making them as a group. So whenever you call Linux admins, so it will send the alerts to the nagios admin and the Ravi contact. So save this configuration file and let's verify the configuration. So is there any spelling mistakes, errors? So no errors. Now let's restart the nagios service so that configuration will take effect, otherwise it won't affect. So I'm going to define the time period here, so which is a custom time period. So I'm going to edit this objects. Under that there is a time periods.cfg file, and I'm going to define one more time period here. So the time period 24/7 is already exists, so which we have used the same template, the same time period in our also definition and service definition. But if you want to change later on, so you can also use this. And I'm saying that the name, I'm just going to maybe say that custom hours and say time period name. So whatever the time period name you call it as, so you have to call this time period name name in the any of the templates, host templates or service templates, to take effect of these timelines. Okay, so alias I'm just specifying this custom hours for notifications, and I'm defining from Monday 9:30, so morning 9:30 to 5:30, so regular office hours. So 5 means 1730. Okay, so again we have to specify how many days you want. Monday I have specified, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So most probably Saturday is holiday, so I don't want to define that. So Monday again from 9:30 to 5:30, and Wednesday is also same, Tuesday is also same, Friday is also same. So instead of custom hours, what you can define this as, say that day shift. That would be better. Name would be better. So let's modify this. You can just remove this custom hours. Say that day shift. You can also say day shift here. So when you call time period day shift, so it only send the alerts during this time period from 9:30 to 5:30. Day shift notifications. Okay, time period. So save this configuration and again verify the nagios configuration here. So is there any errors? Okay, no errors. That's it, and restart the nagios service. Let's define our first host and the service here. I'm just going to say im/user local nagios etc objects. Under that I'm just going to create a host1.cfg file, and here I'm just say some commenting that host definition. Okay, now define host and open bracket and say use in the sense which template you would like to use. So you have to remember the template name. So if you misspell, then it gives you the error. So use, I'm just going to call this Linux-TechArkit template. So we have defined on the template. So make sure that this is exist on the templates, otherwise it gives you the error. So I'm just defining the host name here. Host name, I say that host1 and IP address. So not IP address actually. I'm just going to alias and I just say that host1 and address is IP address 127.0.0.1. For example, I'm just using the local host address here and close it. So that's the host definition, because we no need to define all the options because we are calling this template. So whenever you call that template, all the options you defined on the templates will be applicable to this host. So I'm defining the service here. Say that service definition, define service, use. So here also I'm calling the one of the service template we have defined. Now call, so the service template name service dash TechArkit and host name, so it should be same as host you defined above, host1, and service description. So which service you are going to add, the service description, service name should be visible on the web console. So I'm just going to define ping status and define the logic, which is called a check underscore command. Check underscore command and say that the command name, so which command you have already defined on the commands.cfg file. So check underscore ping and define the values, the arguments which you want to fulfill. So I'm saying that 100 milliseconds latency, which is a 20% packet loss is warning, and 500 milliseconds 6% packet loss, 60% packet loss, and If you want to define the contacts, the extra contact and contact group here, you can define here as well. So the contacts, so I'm saying that Ravi, and the contact groups. So here I'm going to define the contact group name as admins or Linux admins, which we have just defined. Okay, so it might be Linux admins or Linux dash admin, so we have to verify that. Once save this file and go back to the contacts.cfg file and see, cat that file and grab that host group name, nagios/etc objects contacts.cfg, then grab this name. So the host group name is Linux admins. Okay, and here paste it, and maybe you can also use the same contact and contact group name on for the host as well. So now paste the same contacts and contacts group here, save the configuration, and so we have to edit the nagios.cfg file, so that we have to add this host configuration file over there, otherwise it won't be effective. So now you can just say that host1.cfg file, the configuration file, cfg underscore file equal to the file path, and now verify the nagios configuration. Verify nagios, we have defined the command. So now there is no errors, and restart the nagios service and jump to the web console and see. We could able to see the host definition, yes, and wait for few minutes and see the status. So again you can go to the services, the service looks good, it's green. So let's define some host groups and add the host to it as a grouping, and I'm going to create the new file under /etc, so /usr local nagios etc, and say that host groups.cfg file, which is a new configuration file I'm defining here, and say some commenting that host groups, and now define host group and open bracket and say that host group underscore name. So host group name, whatever the host group name you would like to here, let's say that all servers, and alias, so there's some description to the group name, so I say that all servers, which means all Windows and Linux are all monitored by the nagios. By default it should add to this group. And members, define the member, so I'm just going to define only local host here. Later point of time we call this host group from the host, so that the host will be added to this group. So again I'm going to define one more group, so I defined for all users, and now I'm going to define for Linux servers, and same alias, specify all Linux servers, and say members, again I'm adding local host, so I can add same host to the multiple groups, part of the multiple groups. So again I'm going to define one more host group name, and which is Windows servers. Now alias, specify the name, so all Windows servers. Members, so again I'm adding localhost as a by default member of that group, and save this configuration and verify the configuration. Oh, sorry, we have to add this to the nagios.cfg file. Otherwise, it won't take it as a configuration file. Okay, so you come down here and define the cfg file, cfg underscore file equal to file path. Now save this configuration file and verify nagios. Oh, it gives some error saying that duplicate definition found on host group. So there is a, in the localhost.cfg file we have found duplicate. So let's edit that localhost.cfg file and remove that existing host group. So we already have the same group name on this. So come down. So this is the default configuration file. So let's delete this host group and save this configuration. Now again verify the nagios. Okay, it looks good. Now restart the configuration, nagios service. Restart. That's it. Let's define some service groups here. So I'm going to create one more file called service groups.cfg under etc, the default USR local nagios etc file, and I say some commenting here saying that service groups and define service group and open the bracket and say service group underscore name, and here is the service group name. You can specify whatever the service group name you would like to create here. I just wanted to create maybe Linux underscore memory, so all the memory, Linux memory should be in single place. So I say Linux servers memory usage, and here you have to define the members. So host name comma service name. So the service name exactly should match with the whatever the service name you defined on your service, otherwise it won't take. So let's verify that I have given the some service name, but it is there on the localhost or not. So you can see there is no memory usage. So let's pick some other service here. I just pick swap usage here. Okay, let's click this swap usage, the service description. Okay, and it should be exactly matching, otherwise it gives the error. So let's read the service group again and go back here and change this to swap usage. That's it, and save the configuration file and edit the again. So I have to edit the slash usr local nagios etc and nagios.cog file and add this service group path, service group definition file, and here I just add the cfg underscore file equal to the file path, service group file path, and save this. And now verify the nagios. So there is no errors. Now restart the nagios service to take the effect. Service nagios restart. That's it.
That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos and courses. If you want to join the WhatsApp group, the link is given below on the description. Click on the link and join the WhatsApp group for connecting with more technical people.